Hi, Crafty Nanny Cola here, and today we're going to make this little Day of the Dead gnome in his little poncho with his little sombrero and his cute little nose and his little orange beard and his little boots. So if you want to know how I made him, stay tuned. Okay, what you'll need for this project, for the hat, you will need some fabric, and you will need to make a 6-inch circle. You will need to have some fabric for the pants. You will need pool noodles if you have them for the legs and corks, and that'll go inside these little shoes. And the little shoes, the shoes and all of the rollers that are like the tiny pool noodles are at Dollar Tree if you can find them. Some kind of felt for the boots. For the body, you will need a pool noodle 4.5 inches and then enough to cover it. For the poncho, you will need 2 pieces, 10 by 10. You will need a bead, and this is just a little trinket that I bought at Dollar Tree. There's 6 or 7 in the package, and it's a little llama, and I just put that in his hand. You will need some trim if you're going to use that. You will need some, whatever color you want his hands to be, felt. And you will need the same fabric for the arms that you used for the body, so it looks like a shirt. And then you can either use the long pool noodles or you can use the pipe cleaners to make the arms. I will put the measurements in the description and also on the picture. Okay, the tools you will need is a ruler, a fabric scissors, paper scissors. You will need to have glue gun, finger protectors if you want them, and you will need something to draw the circle for the hat, and that is a 6-inch circle. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is to do all your sewing parts, or gluing if you're going to glue it. I'm not good at gluing, as I've said before, so I am going to sew all my stuff. So to start with, you want to make your circle. Now what I did is I took the fabric, and this is approximately 15 by 8, and I ironed on the interfacing on it, the iron-on interfacing, so that there would be a little bit more stabilization to the brim of the hat. You could also, if you're gluing, you can just put in a piece of craft foam if you want to do that. So that's the first thing. So you want to go ahead and do your circle, and then you want to go ahead and cut your paper, and this is 3.25 long by 2.5. So just measure your bottom on your paper. Just take it on your paper. Let's see if I got a little piece. So take your paper and measure your bottom here, your 2 inches here, right here, and then just measure the 3.5 from the middle of your circle, so it'd be 1.25 inches. Go in and then just come up here and then just make your line from there to there. Then you want to cut out of fabric, out of extra fabric, you want to cut 5 of these pieces. And then you're either going to glue, and you'll always glue, if you glue, you're going to glue it on the inside in here. If you're good at that, more power to you, that's great. I like to sew, so it doesn't bother me to sew at all. And so I have already sewn these, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is sew these. And I'm going to go around the circle, and then I'm going to cut a hole in the middle because this is going to cover it. That way I have everything straight around here, and I don't have to leave an opening, which usually makes a little thing that goes in when you try to do it. So this is the easier way to do it. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew, put right sides together, and try to get some so that when you have a front, you'll have a sugar skull in the front. And check your fabric. So this is my grain, and this is my grain. So You want to make sure that your grains are together. And then in this one, you will do the same thing. You can go all the way around, and we'll just cut a hole because it's all going to be covered when you glue it onto this anyway. So you can have a little opening in here. It's not going to hurt. So go ahead and sew everything, and then we'll continue. So when you get everything sewn, first you want to trim all of your edges, and you want to take the corners and you want to square them off. That way it turns easier. And I did not put any interfacing in this because I want it to hang a little bit better. I did put interfacing in one, and it was kind of stiff, so it didn't hang quite as well as I wanted it to. So there is that, and then we'll decide, kind of put it together even though it's the wrong side, and look and see, because the point is going to be, one of the points is going to be the front, and it looks like this one is going to have the best sugar skull on the front. So you just want to take and kind of put it like right here, and fold again and find your middle. Get a marking pen, kind of mark your middle, and that's where you're going to make your hole. Now you might want to come back just a little bit because the back of it might sit a little bit farther back, or you might want to have it a little bit more like this, where the front comes. And from the last one I made, I think I like it a little bit more to the front to make sure that the front, because the last one I made was a little short. I made this one bigger, so hopefully that will work. So now I'm just going to take and I'm just going to put a little right there, and I'm just going to cut a little V out. See, let's see where I'm at. So don't cut too much at once. That's probably a little bit small yet to turn it. So just try to go make a little bit of round hole. Okay, so hopefully this will be enough. And you'll want to turn your iron on if you're going to iron, otherwise you can just kind of finger press it. Let's see if we can get it through this hole. I think we're all right. So that was probably about a 1-inch hole. And so I think it'll go ahead and turn. So once you get that turned, and it did turn through, that hole was about 1.5 inches. I measured it. So just go to all your corners, use your stick, go to all your corners and push out your corners. You want to do that for all 4 corners. Just work don't push too hard though, and make sure you don't have anything that's pointed. That's too much pointed, because if you have it too pointy, it could go through. So don't push too hard, just enough to get the corners out. And rather than pushing so much, you can also just move your stick like this. And you didn't really need to cut both sides. I'm sorry that, I don't know why I did that, but I did cut both sides. Okay, so I'll probably use this corner for my front. So we're going to go over and, actually, let's put this aside and we'll do this so we can iron everything at the same time. So we want to cut around our circle. Okay, I actually have a pinking shears, and the pinking shears is a shears like this that makes little, see, it has little grooves cut out. So instead of having to cut towards the threading where you sewed and possibly cutting it, if you just go around with your, I'm sorry, I'm getting out of frame here again. So anyways, I use the pinking shears and just go around, and that'll help when you turn it. I had already cut some before I remembered my pinking shears. Okay, there we go. Just going to cut that little thread off. And then decide, remember, you're going to see part of the bottom, but you're mostly going to see the top. So again, you want to see which part is going to be the top. I have 2 on this side and 1 whole one on this side. So I think I'll use this for my bottom part. So again, let's just find a little space there in the middle. Just pull it apart, get a hold of it with your nails, which I have none of. And get a pin. There. Okay, and then we're just going to cut a little V out there, or an X, whichever, there in the middle, to turn the hat again. And just do the one side. Like I said, I don't know why I cut a hole in it, because then it would have glued better down. Because it's always going to glue better when you don't have a hole. I might just glue a little piece of fabric back in there. So we're going to go here about an inch. I don't think that's big enough to turn it, but we'll try. No, it needs to be a little bit bigger. Just do little bits at a time until you can get it turned. Okay, you also need to sew together your triangles, and there's 5 of them, and I did make sure that I had kind of one of the sugar skulls for the front. Got in a little bit too far and could have gone a little less, so he had both eyes, but it didn't quite work that way. So go ahead and sew all 5 together. Show you. So you want to sew crossed here, and then add the next one, and next one until you have this. And then you can either use the top of an Easter egg, and that's one of the large Easter eggs, and you can glue all that together to make the top, or you can go ahead and just hem it around and then just stuff it, and then when it goes on, then it'll come on here, and then you can either glue it or sew it on. I like this because it's a little bit more steady, and I still do put a little bit of stuffing inside there just for the heck of it, so I am actually going to just glue everything inside for the hat. So that's for the hat, and I did top stitch around the brim. That'll make it easier when I put the trim on, and you can either glue the trim on or you can sew it by hand. And then I went ahead and I just put a patch right in the middle where we cut, so just to make it a little bit more stable when it goes on to the noodle. So, and I have a lot of, I call them skelly dudes, but sugar skulls on this side, but the actual sugar skull that is showing is here. So I am going to put it like this. And then it'll go on the noodle like this after you get the arms and everything on. So you can set all that aside for right now, and we'll start, well, let's finish the hat. Let's go ahead and finish the hat. So I'm going to try to glue this in there. Hopefully it'll look okay. So go ahead and glue or hem, whichever you're going to do, around. Okay, start by putting a little bit of glue on the inside. I'm going to, just in case it goes through, and go ahead and glue that right in there. Check the outsides and make sure that that's in there, and then just pull it tight. And then just let that glue down in there. Put a little bit. Okay, then start with the front. So you want to make sure the front of the hat is the most, is the best part, so that that's pulled pretty tight, because you are going to get a little bit of wrinkles in here. So I'm going to put it inside, if it'll work. There we go. Okay, and then just pull it tight and start gluing it in there. So just finish that off and glue that all in there. So as you're working with it, work one side, then go work the other side, so that, like I said, most of the bulk, anything that's folded, will be in the back. And I'm smoothing that down with the side of my glue gun so that I don't have a clump of it. So just hold that down. And so there it is. It is a little bit not quite as tight in the back, but it turned out pretty good. And I think that's the easiest way to do it, is with the Easter egg. And then you just want to glue it to the middle of the top, wherever you're going to so I have a sugar skull here, so you'll see that. So I'm going to use that as my front, and a sugar skull here that would go. So you can either do it from this side, or you can do it from this side. If you cut the hole like I did and you patched it up, so we want to make sure you cover up the patch. So I'm actually going to do it from this side, because this is okay, there we go, and because this is covers it better. So then we're just going to take our yeah, actually, if you want to do the trim, you might want to do the trim now before you put the hat on, because it'll be easier, or before you put the top on. Okay, I used the orange trim on my other one, this one that I already made, so I don't have enough orange trim for the whole thing. So I am going to, I do have a lot of black and a lot of white, so I'm going to check here and see. Now I got this from Amazon, and I rolled it, came in a bag, and then I rolled it onto these I just made a cardboard thing and cut it out into a little thing like that, and then rolled it on there. So I think the white stands out better. Let's see, and here's the black. The black doesn't really stand out, but yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the black. I don't use the black as much, so I do have enough orange to go around the hat, so I could do orange and black, and I think that's what I'll do. I'll save the black for that. So I do have enough orange to go around the hat. So it would go on the top of the hat. So if you want to do your trim, then go ahead and do that now. if you're going to trim the end of your hat. See, it looks really cute with the trim. And this orange I got at, I think I probably got this at Joann, because it's $4.99, and I was getting trim at Wal-Mart, and it was almost half that price at that time. Of course, it probably isn't anymore with our way things are going now. I'm just going to check and make sure that I have enough to go around. Yeah, I do. Okay, so go ahead and put that aside, and let's start working on the other. So put your trim on, and I will do that off camera. Okay, let's go ahead and cover our noodle. Okay, find which side stands up the straightest. It's that side. So this is going to be your bottom. I think I already put the holes in there anyways. No, I'm actually going to just mark them with pins so I remember which is the bottom. Okay, I'm just going to cut this a little bit straighter. So to cut them straight, just go ahead and fold together. Put them on your fold. And then you can either measure or you can just kind of eyeball it. That'll help get both sides a little bit straighter. Got glue everywhere here again. Okay, and then just the other side. That looks like we're going to have to go to about here. And then on this one, I'm just going to try to cut this end so I don't cut too much off in case I need that. Okay, there's something in here. Oh, I see. I'm the glue on the thing there. Okay, and these pool noodles do tend to melt a little bit when you go and glue them on there. So the best thing to do is to glue right on to the fabric. So just put a drop of glue on the end of the fabric and leave an overhang on the top and the bottom, and just hold that in there. I let it just cool for a few seconds. Hopefully that will help that it doesn't melt the noodle quite as much. And then actually I would just go to the end and glue it to the other side here. And it doesn't have to match exactly. I'd rather it overhung a little bit. And then just let it dry for a second and let it roll. Get it on there nice and tight. I'm trying to get it on there. It's not cooperating as much as this is flannel fabric, so it's being kind of naughty. There we go. There, that's tighter. Glad I let that cool because it got all over my finger. And then just run some glue here or cut that off. I'm going to run some glue to make sure that I have it glued on a little better. That is, if the glue will come out, I'll run some glue. It's not coming out very well. And I'm just going to take my lighter quick, and I am going to just go down these edges and these edges quick. I don't know how much of that bottom I will use, but I'm just going to quickly burn the edges with the light. Okay, I just did the edges with my lighter. So this is now going to become your back seam. So you just want to cut. I'm going to use my little scissors for this. Got the glue somewhere, but I can't find it. I can feel it. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and cut. Probably could have trimmed a little bit of that off, but some slats there. And then you can just glue that down like that. Okay, so put the glue on the fabric and let it cool for a sec before you do it. And just hold it down. And it is hot through that, the flannel. These are thinner fabrics, so it is hot. So if you're like me and you don't want to get burned, go ahead and use your finger protectors. Leave that dry for a sec there. And I'm just going to cut off that part there. That's otherwise it's going to make it too bulky when we put the hat on. And if you got any sticking up, just go back in there and hold it for a second. Just try to get it as flat as you can, and you can set that aside. Okay. I'm going to stick a pin in here again so I know where my bottom is at. Now I probably ruined the pin too. And I'll have to cut a hole because now I don't know where my holes are. Oh well. So let's go ahead and work on the shoes and the legs. You should, if you want to weight them, then you're going to need a piece of craft foam, and you're going to need to have some nuts and some weighted washers, or just all nuts if you have heavier nuts. I'm running low, so I am going to have to try to get some more of those. So just go ahead, and I'm going to glue these in first, the washers, and hopefully I'll still be able to get the nut in there. So just put some glue in the bottom and put your, if you have two heavy washers or nuts, then that's preferably to use. Why that did that, it might be a little bit bigger than the other one. Make sure it doesn't go above the shoe, the end of the shoe, and this one was, maybe this one was just a little bigger. Okay, there we go. And then just go ahead and glue it back in there and glue your nut in there. Hopefully that is not. Okay, and then just run glue around this part, and then a little bit around here, and set it onto your craft foam, and just let that dry for a bit. I'll just put a little bit more inside there where I have the washer. And then we'll be cutting around that after it dries, so just set that aside, and we'll start the arms while we're waiting for that to dry. Okay, I already have, these pipe cleaners, when you bend them in half, and then you can just bend a little bit over the top, and they should measure, you want them about 5.5 inches. So I twisted this also, and the part that you did not just turn over, but the part where you folded it in half, that's going to be the bottom towards your hand. So I did twist, like I said, these a little bit. Now, we may not need it quite that long, we will see. So go ahead and do that, and then take your whatever color you're going to use for the hands. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how long we want the hand. So I would say about probably 1.5 inches. Maybe 1.75 inches. You want to make sure that you've got plenty to stick up into the arm. Okay, so this is going to go fold in half like that. And that is, I folded it at about 5/8 of an inch. I'm just going to cut that off. And we're going to need 2 like that. So we pretty much have a 1 3/4 by 3.5. And then this is going to get folded in half like this. And this is going to be the top of the hand that's going to hold things. So if you want, you can cut another one of those. Okay, so go ahead and glue or sew those, whichever you're going to do. I'm just going to glue these right along the edge. Just a little bit in, because you don't want it all seeping out. And just fold the 2 together. And repeat with the other one. Okay, and then just set those aside so we can do the arms and kind of, not do the arms yet. We're just going to kind of see where we're at with the arms. So you want to, this is going to get glued here. So you kind of want to put the pipe cleaner up a little bit. So let's make sure this is enough. So we're going to roll this in. We want to try to keep that bottom straight. So if we cut one part, we want to go ahead and you can hem it up if you want with your glue. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue. Make sure you have it even before you start gluing stuff. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on top here. Just a little tiny bit, just enough to glue it together. And I'm going to try to keep it a little bit off from the bottom because we're going to be putting this in. I don't want a bunch of bulk. And then repeat for the other side. Okay, then go ahead and hem up that one side with the glue. Got me again. Okay, okay, next let's go ahead and glue the hands together. Leave an opening, you're just doing the bottom. Repeat with the other side. Okay, so this part's a little bit tricky, so I glued my hand in kind of the middle. So you're going to want the folded edge of this to match with the folded edge of that, because you want the folded edge to come down. So like this, the folded edge will come down so that when you roll it up, you have the folded edge of the hand up and the folded edge of the arm down. And that's going to be when you put your arm on, so that the folded edge is down. So go ahead and glue that in there, and then fit in your pipe cleaner. Just kind of bury it under there. Or you can just, if you want, just bring it up a little bit. You don't want to see the pipe cleaner hanging out. So let's just roll it up before we glue it and see how that goes. Okay, so see, so you have up, you have the folded edge up on the hand, folded edge down on the arm, and your pipe cleaner sandwiched in between all of that. So go ahead and put a line of glue. Of course, I didn't get this again. I'm gonna have to put it inside. We'll do that in a minute. And then roll that up. Let it dry for a minute there. And then you're probably going to have to put a, maybe not. You can just roll this. You don't need to actually. And then put your line of glue along your arm, the folded side of your arm, and just roll that up. There we go. Just roll that up and hold it. You don't want too skinny of an arm, but you don't want a fat arm either. And try to match this in better than I did. And then repeat the same thing with the other arm. Okay, now if you did this right, you'll have opposite arms. You'll have the fold up and the fold down on both arms when you stick them together. So they will go onto this, and this will be your left arm, facing towards your way, and your right arm. And we'll adjust for the length afterwards, so we won't put the arms on until after we do the legs, so we can adjust them to how we want them, because we can do several things. You can stick them in here and do to other things. So let's go back to our shoes and cut those in half. I'm going to get my other scissors, and you just want to cut around there. Just cut around your shoes. Repeat for the other side. Now for the shoes, you would want them 6 long, and then 2 inches high. But if you're going to make boots, you might want to go like 2.5 inches. So you want to measure out 6. And you can use any color you want for the boots. And I'm going to go ahead and do the 2.5. So I'm going to measure 5 right now. And go to the other side. Measure your 5. And measure your 6 from this side. Looks like it's just about right in the middle, because this is a 12-inch piece. Chalk it there. And then you just want to half it, so you're going to do 2.5 or 2. Otherwise, so you would only do 4 if you're going to do a 2-inch. And then take your scissors and cut those out. Okay, set those aside, and let's go ahead and do our pants. So we're only this is I already glued this in, and what I did is I glued the stick in first. Now if you have thicker sticks, that's nice too. But I have a ton of these sticks I sent for Amazon, thinking they were wider around, and they're not. So I just make do with them because I've got so many, like 2 packages. And then I just took the pool noodle and I just put it on there. I cut it in half. This is one not pool noodle, but they're curlers, but they're pool noodle curlers like. And I would put the less straight, if you cut a little bit crooked like I sometimes do, I would put those on the bottom. Okay, then what's going to happen is they're going to end up going inside this, but these corks that I got really fit snug in these shoes, so I don't want to actually set them in there yet. So we're going to go ahead and glue around the cork. Let it cool for just a second, because these will melt just like the pool noodles do. And then just squish it down there. Trying to keep it as even as you can around the cork. And repeat with the other one. Now, all of that cork is going to go inside there, so we're going to go ahead and measure what we need on the glue strings here. Okay, so we need to go to the bottom. We don't really want to hem this up because it's going to hit. We want to try to get it tucked inside the shoe. So you want it just a little bit over the cork. So I'm going to mark this at right about here because we do need to do a little hem. And then you want to just go above the noodle. So I measured about 3 1/4 by pretty much 3 1/4. So it's 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So you'll need 2 pieces of those. So go ahead and draw one. And it looks like I have enough for the 2 of them. And then just lay your fabric over to the other side of the fabric that you have. And then just take a pin and pin that together. That way you can cut them both at the same time. Okay, then but your stretchy side is what you want around. Okay, so make your little hem with the glue if you're going to. I'm going to go sew this. Okay, these corks that I got really fit snugly in here. So I probably shouldn't have glued the noodle on yet. I got them from Amazon on another gnome making YouTube site that she said she used, and they fit in here. But I think some of them are even bigger because I have used them before and they fit better than this. But this is really, really snug in here. So I went ahead and I did this one. So I'm just going to pull this off. The noodle back off because I'm going to have to use something to shove it in there. So you're not going to need any glue because it definitely fits in there. So we want to run a line of glue and let it cool for a second, a couple of seconds there. Make sure the part that you took off is at the bottom, and lay your noodle there. Let that dry for few seconds. And also you might want to burn the 2 ends before you do this. So I just burned the edges to get that all those little frays off. And then we just want to run it down the back, and the seam will go in the back. And then we're going to go ahead and put your cork inside. I tried to whittle it down a little bit, but These are really, really corks. In fact, in order to make the hole, I have to drill it. If you can get it in there, that's fine, but I do drill them. So you can see how snug it is in there. Normally, you have it where it's not quite all, that it doesn't fit in there. It's a little bit skinnier, and then you glue it in. But I'm not putting any glue in this one, because the glue will dry before I get it in there. So yeah, just use something to push that all the way down. Make sure they're all the way down. And then we'll go ahead and put our glue, a little bit of glue around to go ahead and do that on. Make sure you get the side that, this is the smoother side, so this is the bottom part. And then make sure the seam is in the back. Make sure you're getting in the hole. There we go. And the boot will cover up anything that's showing down there. So just get that seam as close as you can to the back. And repeat with the other side. Okay, so at this point, this is how your shoes should look. And we'll work on the shoes in just a minute. Okay, I did cut these down to 2 inches. The 2.5 was a little bit too high for these particular ones. So you'll just have to measure up and see what's best. I did keep the little 1/2 inches that I cut off because we can use those on another thing. So make sure you get these nice and straight. I didn't get this too straight. A couple. It's pretty straight. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to start just off the back, kind of where the seam is. And we're going to start there and just put a little dab of glue there. Put your straightest side up. And then just run the bottom. You want it to run right along the orange there, the end of the orange. And just let that glue on. And pull it back and put glue on the side and around the bottom. Don't put any glue on the front part. Don't put it up here. Just on the sides. To about there, to where, just before that, where the shoe caves in there. And then just continue around the shoe. And up that side again. And match the backs, bottoms, top. And then just put a drop of line of glue right across there and just put it on there, and then we'll be cutting the rest of that off. So just overlap it just a little bit. Try to get it as even as you can. We can cut a little bit off if we need to, but it looks like I have it a little bit off on the top and bottom here. There we go. Okay, then just cut that extra off. Okay, then we want to, this one needs a little bit more. Okay. So then you want to take the front and you want to push it in right in the middle and go ahead and try to get it as even as possible. And if you want, you can either just glue that together. At this point, I'm going to try to put a rubber band around it first, and then we'll just be doing a tie around it. And so I just put the rubber band around it. That way I didn't have to glue it, because every time I do glue it, I get kind of a glob. And it's hard to work with, for me anyways. So these just look like little kind of old-fashioned shoes. So repeat with the other side. Then you can take ribbon. I'm going to use the jute. And you can burn the edges if you want. I don't know why I took so much. I don't need that much. But just cut a piece, and I'm going to go ahead and just burn these edges off. Okay, then just take the jute or your ribbon. If you want a bright ribbon or something, that's fine too. And the rubber band will probably eventually break. So just tie that. Adjust your boot the way you want it. Just tie that good. And then just tie your bow. Like that. And then just adjust it. So you just have a nice little bow. Do that. Try to do it from the top, see if that makes it a little bit better bow. Yeah, a little bit better bow there. I find that if you go over the top, you have a little bit better bow. And just trim the edges. And just put the littlest drop of glue just so it stays. And do the same thing with the other side. And there's your shoes. Now, if you want at this point, you can take the same color and you can glue that on and then cut around there. So if you want to match the bottoms, or you can do another contrasting color. I only use that orange because that's what I had there. So let those dry. Then take a scissors. I prefer a smaller one, it's up to you. And just go around. Do it gently and take your time. And just try to get the scissors right along where the boot is. Then just look at the bottom and just lay your scissors along the boot again. Get all these little edges off. I need a little bit more glue here that didn't cover the orange right here. I don't know why. And then you can also, if you want to take the little things that you cut off, you can, I'm not going to do that today, but you can also edge if you want. You can edge it, and that'll give you another edge across that it is cute, but I'm not going to do it right now, but you can do it if you want. I'll probably do it later. I want to make sure, because one is cut a little bit shorter than the other, so I'll have to recut. So you can do that. You can just put a bottom around if you want. Okay, now we're going to, this is the bottom here, because I put the shorter things, I believe, to the bottom. Okay, to cover the bottom, just take the pool noodle that you had, that you cut the piece out of, and take a piece of the color of whatever you used and just put it here and trace around it and then glue it on. Okay, so just play with the legs until you get them where you want them. If you're using the ones with the pokers on like this, it's probably easier to get them in there. You might end up with a few extra holes, but you're not going to notice that much. So just go ahead and then put a little bit of glue. Try to get a little bit inside, and then make sure you get them back in pretty much the way you had them in. This one was a little tricky because I think it was hitting some of the glue that I glued that extra piece with. So adjust them right after you get them in before the glue dries. Okay, this one went in really well, but I had a lot of problems with the right one here. Still doesn't want to go in quite right. So there's his feet. It's going to be a tall little fellow, it looks like. Could have maybe done this a little bit smaller because we're not putting something over like we usually are. So there we have his legs. So now let's work on the arms. So the arms bend, remember, so this up a little so you can see a little better, hopefully. Okay, so let's measure kind of where we want his arms and what looks good. I'm just going to use a couple of pins. Sorry this video is so long, but it's pretty much, other than the few things that are done off camera, it's done in about an hour and a half to 2 hours total. Make sure your arms are down, that the arm is facing down, and that the folded part of the hand is up. Probably going to need to put these, I'm just going to try this quick. I don't think we're going to probably be able to put them right there. What do I do with the other pin? Okay, so hopefully you got your arms pinned on okay. And I went ahead, I haven't glued them on yet, but I did pin them on. I actually got these pins at Walmart. They're 1.5 inch, paid a couple bucks for them. And they're well worth it. They're good for putting them on, and they're good for keeping it in there after you glue it a little bit. I usually put a pin in each one. So I also went ahead and I found this that I bought a long time ago at Hobby Lobby when we were making Mickey ears, and it didn't work for the Mickey ears, but it worked pretty good for matching in with this, making it nice and colorful like the Dia de Muertos are. So there is that. So what we're going to do next is go ahead and finish the hat. So I am going to use, this is my front, And I'm just gonna get everything out of the way here, and I am going to just put some glue around all around the edges. Now you can, if you want, you can glue some stuffing in there, and that'll help it a little bit with the glue too. So this is my front. It was hard to sew this on though because the little pom-poms kept getting in the way, so I got a little off on some, but I did use a zipper foot, but I still wanted to try to catch them. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so set that aside to dry, and let's go ahead and glue on our arms. And you want to use a fair amount of glue for that. And I'm just going to take my pin that I had there, and I'm going to stick it into the arm so it kind of glues in there with the glue. So I'm taking the back pin out, leaving the front one in. Glue's still hot. And then I'm just on here with the, there we go. And so we'll just glue this on. I'm going to grab my pin and stick it in there and just glue all that together. It's probably best to get those nice heavy nuts because I noticed this isn't quite as heavy. I might, if I had more nuts, I'd drop them inside here and make that a little bit heavier. The rice, I've tried putting rice in there and that didn't work too well. Okay, so I dropped some weights down there. Probably should put a little bit of glue down there to keep them down so they don't go wiggling in there when people pick stuff up. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is put on our poncho. So find your front, find your middle. So to find your middle, just go ahead and fold the two triangles together. Still have some. And then go ahead and fold it one more time. And there's your middle right there. So I've already marked mine with the chalk. And you get this fabric, this was a yard, and it was probably $3.97, I think my daughter paid for it, for a yard at Wal-Mart. That's the only place I've seen it with the sparkle sugar skulls. Okay, so go ahead and pin that on for the moment. Try to find a place where there's not glue. Go ahead and put two in there. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to come down and we want to put our, bring our hand up, and you want the point of the poncho right there. And then here, you can either glue it, I'm going to sew it, but I'm going to pin it for the moment, and I'm just going to hand sew that. Bunch more threads over here. And you can glue this stuff on too, this these little pom-pom. So you want to pin it where you're going to glue it. So like that. Then check it to make sure you can bend his arms. His arms bend. Might have to do a little gluing on his poncho, or a couple stitches. It's not wanting to lay down quite how I want, but anyways, this is how it should be. So, and then either glue where you did the pins under the arm, or go ahead and sew it. Okay, I sewed the underarms, and I sewed down. You can either glue or sew. If you do sew, try to stay away from the glue, because needles and glue don't mix very well. So there's the front and the back. Okay, now our next step is going to be the beard. Now I cut this beard only, they were already like this. I bought some Halloween beards from, they were purple and orange, and they came with beads too. I'm not crazy about these beads. It doesn't have the hole in it, so therefore it's not where the ones with the holes in seem to be a little bit flatter, so that's not as flat as I like it. This is the normal bead, so see, it's got a little bit of a flat end where the hole was drilled out. So anyways, this I cut this 2 inches, and I didn't cut it from, because these were already pre-cut beards, and they were 3.5 inches long. So 3.5 by almost 2, looks like 1 7/8. So what we're going to do is we are going to put the beard right up here. Just going to glue that on up here. So just put a bead of all around the beard. And try to get it centered between the arms. Put it up fairly high, like that. Just right there where the pool noodle, where you can see where the pool noodle comes. And just hold it down there and let it dry. Okay, and then we're going to try the hat on. Here's my front. Whoop, he lost his hat already. Okay, so we want to put the nose right up here on top of the beard. I'm actually going to use, I think, this nose, because we're not actually gluing the hat, and the hat usually helps to keep it on. In fact, I have some half beads too, but I don't think they're big enough. I don't think it's gonna look to be big enough under the hat. Let me see what it looks like, because that would stay on better. So that's too little of a nose, you think? Yeah, I think he needs a bigger nose. I don't know, maybe I kind of like the half bead. It's pretty big. So we'll put the nose right in the middle here. Better check it. Yeah, pretty much in the middle, and just hold that on. Not the best bead. Okay, so there's his nose, and now we're going to put his hat on. So you can put just a drop of glue. I'm hoping he's not going to fall over with the hat. So I'm going to try to put the hat back a little bit. Like that. Get that hat glued on there. And then just lift the hat, put a little bit of glue around the top of the bead in the hat, and that'll help that bead stay on, hopefully. And then just hold that. You don't really want to do like you do with the other hats and round it like that, because a sombrero doesn't really go down like that. If anything, it goes up. There are some felt ones that Patty J. Good has been using in her last couple of videos, and I put them on my Christmas list, so the kids had something to buy, and so hopefully I'll have those, that someone will get those for Christmas, and then I will have them for Valentine's Day. So there he is. See him there. There's his little nose underneath there, his little orange beard. And if you like these kind of videos and you'd like to see more, which you probably don't because they take way too long for me, eventually I guess I'll learn, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Give me a like if you will, and share it with your friends. Keep yourself safe. Have a wonderful rest of the evening.